you think it's possible to bring him home?
Sabi ni Attorney Kaufman, hindi nila ina-expect na magkakaroon ng decision within the year. So most likely, the former president will stay in his detention facility in The Hague during the Christmas and New Year holidays.
Hello everyone, joining us here today is our news correspondent, Janvic Mateo. Good morning, Janvic.
Hi, I'm Janvic Mateo. I'm a correspondent for the Philippine Star and I currently covered the ICC case against the former president and the Human Rights Beat. I've been a reporter with the Philippine Star since 2012.
So bakit na-reject yung appeal ng Duterte camp for interim release bid ng ICC Appeals Chamber?
Okay, so ito yung pinaka-latest na update dun sa kaso ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa ICC. So last Friday, November 28, nagdesisyon nga ang ICC Appeals Chamber na i-reject yung apela ng kampo ng dating Pangulo para sa kanyang conditional release or interim release. The Duterte lawyers, the lawyers of former President Rodrigo Duterte filed an appeal for interim release o pansamantalang pagkakalaya. Noong September 26, 2025, nag-decide na yung pre-trial chamber na wag payagan yung request na ito. So itong pre-trial chamber, ito yung nakita natin dun sa unang appearance niya nung March pagkatapos niyang maaresto. Pagkatapos magdesisyon ng pre-trial chamber, nag-appeal itong kampo ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. So yung nag-handle ng appeal, separate chamber ito. Ito yung tinatawag na appeals chamber. Yung pre-trial chamber ay composed of 3 judges. Itong appeals chamber ay 5 judges. So magkaibang set of judges na itong nagdesisyon. So technically parang pangalawang push na ito for interim release ng dating Pangulo. So merong 3 grounds na sinight yung kampo ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte para i-challenge yung original na decision ng pre-trial chamber. So una ay yung hindi raw na-assess ng maayos ng pre-trial chamber yung arguments tungkol dun sa risk. So meron daw problema dun sa kung paano nagdesisyon yung pre-trial chamber dun sa sinasabi nitong may risk kapag pinalaya si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. So sa desisyon ng appeals chamber, sinabi naman nito na hindi nagkamali yung pre-trial chamber at hindi napatunayan ng depensa na meron talagang pagkakamali dun sa pag-assess ng ebidensya ng mga information na present sa kanila ng kampo ni dating Pangulo. Doon naman sa second ground, tungkol ito doon sa mga kondisyon na inilatag ng bansa na sabi niya nitong bansa na to willing tanggapin si Pangulong Duterte kung pansamantalang palalayain. Sabi ng kampo ng dating Pangulo, kaya hindi raw nagkaroon ng tamang assessment itong pre-trial chamber dun sa conditions, hindi nila nabigyan ng weight yung inilatag na condition nitong bansa na ito. Balikan lang natin, hindi pa natin alam kung anong bansa itong nag-agree na tanggapin si Pangulong Duterte. So maraming iba't ibang mga sinasabi na ito raw bansa na ito yung nagbigay nung indication na ito pero hindi natin alam pa dahil nakaredact yung information. So sabi ng appeals chamber, hindi naman daw nagkamali yung pre-trial chamber dun sa decision nito, dun sa conditions at tama naman yung naging decision nito. So dinismiss din or nireject din yung pangalawang appeal. Doon naman sa pangatlo, ito yung madalas nating naririnig, yung humanitarian condition or humanitarian consideration na dahil nga may edad na ang dating Pangulo at isa pa yung usapan tungkol dun sa kanyang medical condition na dapat naging basehan din ito dun sa posibleng desisyon ng pag-grant ng conditional release. Pero dahil sabi naman ng appeals chamber, tama naman yung naging decision din ng pre-trial chamber pagdating dito sa humanitarian consideration, hindi raw enough yung nailatag or hindi sufficient yung nailatag na information ng defense para maging basehan siya ng release based on humanitarian condition. So yung 3 ground na yon, kaya siya na-reject yung 3 ground, kaya nag-decide yung appeals chamber na i-confirm or katigan yung original decision na wag payagang makalabas kahit temporarily si dating Pangulong Duterte.
So you've been following this story kahit pa noong start pa lang talaga,
Yes.
bago pa siya i-turn over ng Philippine government to the ICC. Would you say ngayon na yung Duterte camp, were they hopeful na papanigan sila ng appeals chamber or they already know? Kasi 'di ba si Attorney Christina Conti, she said in an interview na hindi talaga kadalasang pinapalaya o ginagrant ng interim release yung mga nakapag-commit ng crimes against humanity. So, based dun sa coverage mo, would you say na hopeful yung Duterte family na mapagbibigyan sila this time around, or they already know kung ano yung magiging kapalaran ni dating Pangulong Duterte?
Interesting ito, no? Although hindi ako directly nagko-cover ng Duterte family, mas nasusundan ko yung activities nila dahil yung case yung sinusundan ko. So, yung correspondence ko is mainly with the lawyers, primarily with Defense Counsel Nicholas Kaufman. Interesting kasi nung final yung appeal, there were indications na parang they are hopeful. Kahit nung mga araw or the days leading to the decision last week, nagkaroon ng parang push on social media among the supporters na palayain na yung dating Pangulo. Tapos paulit-ulit nating naririnig yung humanitarian consideration. Pero immediately after the decision, kinausap ko, in-interview ko si Attorney Kaufman, and ang una niyang sagot ay the ICC Appeals Chamber has never affirmed the interim release of a person charged with crimes against humanity. So parang ang sinasabi niya, never nangyari yun. Never palang pinagbigyan talaga ng appeals chamber ang isang appeal on interim release. So parang at least the way he said it, parang hindi naman din sila umasa talaga na magkakaroon ng reversal dun sa original decision. But at least, of course, before the decision, ang indications ay they were hopeful. I guess hindi ka naman mag-file ng appeal talaga, no, kung hindi mo nais or hindi mo talaga gusto na ma-reverse yung original decision. Pero ayun nga, sabi niya, never pa itong nangyari. Pero hindi pa yata doon natatapos based sa kanyang mga sinasabi.
Exactly. Yun kasi yung sunod kong tanong na parang ano ba yung may expect pa natin from the Duterte camp? You filed this story days ago about Attorney Kaufman filing again for another interim release bid. Yeah. Is that true? Or can you explain?
Yes. So just to clarify, kasi lumalabas yung reports ng iba, di ba, na parang final na. Hindi na makakalabas si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte in terms of interim release. Mm-hmm. Pero based kasi sa rules ng ICC, required na i-review ng pre-trial chamber yung decision regularly. So hindi ito tapos na yung issue ng interim release dahil mismong sa rules ng ICC may review na mangyayari. And according to Attorney Kaufman, hihintayin lang nila yung decision dun sa medical report na ginagawa sa dating Pangulo. Tapos on the basis of that, at least ang indication na sinasabi niya ay magpa-file ulit sila ng request for interim release. So I'm assuming na gagamitin nila kung ano man yung lalabas doon sa report, sa medical report ng dating Pangulo para maging basis ng another request for interim release. So posible na dadaan ulit ito sa pre-trial chamber, kasabay na rin nung mandate din naman nila na i-review yung decision sa interim release.
They are required na i-review to every 6 months if I'm not mistaken.
120 days yung nakalagay sa rules. Pero pwede rin kasi, so we have to go back dun sa specifics ng rules. Pero sa Rome Statute, nakalagay lang periodically review. Okay. Pero ang isang nakalagay ay yung 120 days na regularly. Pero we will know kung pwede nilang gawin na kung mas maaga, may mag-request na ng review. Kung gagawin nila, kung matutuloy yung review na yan for interim release.
Okay. Siguro isa pang katanungan, no, especially on social media, bakit hindi matuloy-tuloy yung confirmation of charges? Like, ano yung nagpapadelay? Ano yung cause ng delay na yun?
So, since the arrest nung March, merong several na ginawa ang depensa. May mga final sila na appeal, na request sa pre-trial chamber. Na ito yung naging basis nung iba't ibang mga pinag-uusapan natin ngayon. Una na doon yung issue ng interim release na gustong palayain si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte temporarily to another country. Pangalawa, yung issue ng jurisdiction. Ito yung naririnig na natin noon na may issue on jurisdiction na hindi raw sakop ng jurisdiction ng ICC yung kaso sa Pilipinas or yung nangyari doon sa drug war. Nagkaroon na rin ng desisyon ang pre-trial chamber dito sa issue ng jurisdiction. So na-deny na rin yung jurisdiction. Naka-appeal din ito. So may inaasahan pa tayong isa pang appeals chamber decision na lalabas. Hindi natin sigurado kung kailan ito. Pero tungkol ito doon sa issue ng jurisdiction. So kung i-recognize yung defense challenge na yon, that's another way para matapos na yung trial. Kasi ibig sabihin, hindi na siya tuloy. Wala na yung matapos na yung proceedings, no? Hindi na tutuloy sa trial. Pero yung issue ng confirmation is anchored on the third case na or request na final ng defense camp. So itong request na ito ay naka-anchor dun sa request nila for adjournment na tinatawag, or basically tapusin na yung proceedings. Tapos ang basis na ginamit nila dito ay yung medical condition supposedly of the former president. Ang term na ginamit nila ay cognitive decline. Ito yung naging reason kung bakit na-delay, kasi supposedly September 23 yung confirmation of charges hearing. A few weeks before the September 23, sinabi ng September 8.
Yes.
Tama, birthday ko yun.
Wow.
September 8 September 8 nung nag-issue ang pre-trial chamber ng suspension, kasi sabi nila bago tayo mag-proceed sa confirmation hearings, i-address muna natin itong request for adjournment. So after nung suspension, sabi ng pre-trial chamber, bumuo tayo ng medical panel, ng medical team, a team of experts para i-assess ang medical condition ng dating Pangulo, para ma-verify kung totoo ba yung sinasabi ng defense tungkol sa cognitive decline. Originally, dapat October 31 i-release yung or isasubmit ng panel yung kanilang medical assessment. Pero throughout the next few weeks after nilang ma-appoint, nagkaroon ng challenge dun sa composition. So may mga napalitan na members. So na-move ito. So the panel of experts, medical experts, are given until December 5 to submit their assessment of the former president's medical condition. And then the defense, prosecution, and the victims' counsel are given, if I'm not mistaken, until December 12 to comment on it. So after pa lang na natin naasahan na magkakaroon ng final na decision yung pre-trial chamber dun sa request for adjournment.
So ganun katagal.
So medyo matagal. Well, it's only a few weeks, pero sabi ni Attorney Kaufman, hindi nila ina-expect na magkakaroon ng decision within the year. So most likely, the former president will stay in his detention facility in The Hague during the Christmas and New Year holidays.
Ano ulit yung name? Joke lang.
nung prison sa The Hague.
Sa
at the outskirts of The Hague.
Outskirts of The Hague.
Comment down below yung yung pronunciation. Okay.
Yung pala yung challenge for today.
Yes.
But I guess, isa pa sa mga, apart from yung progress ng case ni former President Duterte, we've been waiting actually for updates if meron pang susunod sa kanya sa The Hague. There were reports on Senator Bato de la Rosa. So, ano po ba yung issue talaga doon? Meron ba talagang in-issue na warrant of arrest, or is this what we call fake news right now? Ano po ba yung status, or would you know?
Well, the information came from Ombudsman Boying Remulla, no, na supposedly he saw a copy. But whether or not that's true, kung totoong kopya yon or kung ano man yung nakita niya, wala tayong confirmation doon. Kasi in practice, yung ICC ay hindi talaga nilalabas yung arrest warrants or confirmation ng arrest warrants until after the person is in their custody. So parang sa case ni dating Pangulong Duterte, di ba? Hindi natin immediately na-confirm na meron talagang arrest warrant until after maaresto na siya, tapos yung ICC nag-issue lang talaga ng confirmation pagdating niya sa The Hague, dun sa prison. Ayan. So ganun din yung nangyayari dito kay Senator De La Rosa. Hindi natin alam kung meron na ba talagang arrest warrant or hindi. So kasama ito sa proseso, kaya siya hindi ipinapakita ay dahil gustong iwasan na makapagtago or maunahan na hindi kaya siya maaresto. So parang for protection, for immediate detention din ng person that's subject of the warrant. Now, on whether or not meron pang ibang may issuehan ng arrest warrant. According to the lawyers that we've talked to and based na rin sa mga dokumento, malaki yung chances na meron pa. Kasi kung titignan natin yung kaso ng dating Pangulo, nakalagay individual co-perpetrator. So kung co-perpetrator, may kasama pa talaga. And if we look at yung charge sheet na tinatawag, yung document containing charges and yung brief na sinubmit ng ICC prosecutor, may nakalista doon na 8, hindi natin sigurado kung 8 individual ito or 8 group of individuals na co-perpetrators din. So, ibig sabihin, posible talagang may ma-issuehan ng arrest warrant pa. Sorry, hindi individual, indirect co-perpetrator yung tawag kay doon sa kaso ng dating Pangulo. So, pwedeng meron pa talaga, hindi natin alam kung sino. Now, bakit ang pangalan na naririnig natin ay si Senator De La Rosa? Kasi while yung 8 set or 8 individual na yun ay nakaredact, sa ibang parte ng dokumento, specifically nakapangalan siya as former Philippine National Police Chief. Dalawa yung pangalan na nakita natin doon. Si former PNP Chief and now Senator De La Rosa, and si former Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre. What we want to highlight though is hindi naman ibig sabihin, 'di ba, na sila na talaga yung aarestuhin or kasama sila sa posibleng ipa-aresto. Pero it was very clear in the documentation na sila yung na-mention doon na parte nung tinatawag nilang yung ina-allege nila na crime in relation doon sa drug war.
Would you say, kasi of course sa ibang commentaries din naman, they say na kasama din daw si Senator Bongo. So may naririnig ka ba na may possibility na masama din siya dun sa list of co-perpetrators?
There are some sectors who are claiming that possibility. They are basing that on some of the witness testimonies or at least with the statements that were submitted to the ICC. Pero specific dun sa mga documents na sinubmit ngayon or nakikita natin mula sa ICC prosecutor or Office of the Prosecutor, walang specific mention kasi ng iba pang individual. So hindi natin directly masasagot kung sila ba talaga ay posibleng makasuhan, sino-sino pa itong individuals. Ang sigurado lang tayo ay posibleng meron pa talagang ibang individuals na makasuhan, ma-issuehan ng arrest warrant in the future.
So, siguro, just to wrap up din, no? Kasi, ang daming nagtatanong, gaano ba kabigat yung crimes against humanity sa ICC? So, kung i-explain natin sa kanila kung gaano kabigat tong kaso na to, parang paano mo siya i-describe?
So, international human rights law yung issue ng crimes against humanity and in-establish yung ICC para maging tribunal ng etong mga crimes na may ganitong level ng gravity, ganitong level ng gravity ng crimes, no. So kasama ng crimes against humanity ay yung genocide and war crimes. So ito yung tatlong klase ng krimen na tinatackle or may jurisdiction ng ICC. Depende na rin dun sa mga miyembro nito. Pero binuo ito para i-address itong mga issue na itong malalaking klase ng krimen na ito na yun nga na in-identify ng international community. So pagdating kasi doon sa crimes against humanity, isa sa lagi nating nakikita yung diskusyon ng ilan ba talaga yung namatay. 'Di ba? Paulit-ulit na pinag-uusapan yung dapat ba talagang meron kang 30,000, patunayan mo yung 30,000 para masabi mong crimes against humanity siya, or dapat bang nakalimita siya dun sa current case na hindi naman 30,000 or hindi naman thousands, and there are criticisms pa nga na kung marami talagang namatay, bakit yan lang yung sinubmit? Yes. Pero sa pagdating kasi sa usapin ng crimes against humanity, ang importante ay mapatunayan systemic and widespread yung attack against a civilian population. So kung para sa Office of the Prosecutor, enough na kung ilan man yung inilista nila doon na nadami ng mga insidente para patunayan na merong systemic or systematic and widespread attack against the civilian population, then posible pa rin talagang makonvict or posible pa rin talagang maparusahan, or sa case nga na ito, magtuloy yung isang kaso sa ilalim ng crimes, paglabag ng crimes or pag-commit ng crimes against humanity.
So last question.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible to bring him home?
It will depend on the decision of the ICC. Yun na lang para safe na sagot.